I'm Dana. I very recently made a video about autistic anger because I'd had just a really bad day where I'd gotten really angry, and it was one of those things where I was like, I just don't feel like other people that I've known in my life for the most part experience emotions this like deeply and this big and this like all consuming. So I made a video about it. I'll link it here if you haven't seen it. And one person, I was gonna get a few people commented, one person asked if I could make more videos about autistic emotions, and that comment prompted me to remember the documentary that came out on Channel 4 I was gonna say a little while ago. It was probably like over a year ago now, but I don't remember the whole thing, and I don't entirely even remember who it was on it. But I remember that it was like some celebrity, and his wife had recently found out that she was either ADHD or autistic, and their kids were autistic. And there was a moment quite close to the start of the documentary where he was like, you know, it's just really soul crushing to find out that your kids are autistic and realise like they might never love you. And I was like, what the shit, my guy? Obviously there's just a whole realm of issues within that, and you know, I'm sure it is very, very difficult to find out that your children are autistic, and I really hope that he has plenty of people around him to support him with that and to help him to learn to not say things like that, because it is blatantly just untrue for the vast majority of autistic people. And as always, I don't want to pretend that all autistic people are the same, and I definitely don't want to pretend that all autistic people are just like me. You know, every single person in the world feels things differently, and that goes for autistic people too. I'm simply the type of autistic person that feels as though I feel things very, very strongly, and you know, other people have been able to relate to that and tell me they feel the same, and I would like to continue making content that some people find relatable. If you don't find it relatable, that's fine, you don't have to. So speaking purely from my own experience, I think that part of a documentary like bothered me and stuck with me so much, because I haven't even watched this whole documentary from what I recall. I just saw parts of it online, but it stuck with me because I definitely felt like when I was a child, people didn't necessarily know that I loved them, you know? I didn't feel like I had any concept of like how to show my emotions to people as a child, you know? Like if I wasn't laughing or crying, I feel like I was just sort of sat there. Like one of the things that my mum brought up in my autism like diagnosis was specifically that like my face didn't do that many expressions as a child. She quite often would have to like specifically ask me like how I was feeling and what was going on and things like that, because my face didn't do the expressions and I didn't do like the things that people expect for your social cues. Like I remember that I would quite often pat my parents on like the arm or the leg and be like, love you, and that was my version of like giving my parents a big hug and being like, I love you so much, mum, you know? But I didn't like being touched an awful lot, and I didn't feel like I knew how to put across the social cue of like, I want to give you a hug now. So I'd often catch people like in the middle of moving, and like I just felt so extremely awkward showing any sort of like affection to people that I would just be like, love you, and move on and not really like show any deeper emotion to that, despite massively feeling it, you know? Like one of the like things that I think really impacted me like mentally a lot as a child was how aware I was that people aren't always there, you know? Like I think I was maybe 5 or 6 when I first experienced a death in the family and realised like, oh, people just go and don't come back. And after that I would spend like night after night, like a lot of my nights as a kid, I would cry myself to sleep because I knew that one day in the future one of my parents would die, and that absolutely destroyed me. And I'll give that I mostly thought of my dad. I used to get really like, as a young child, I would lay in bed and just cry until I fell asleep, because I was so hyper aware of the fact that one day my dad was gonna die, and I already felt so sad about that fact being completely removed from a time in which that would happen, you know? Because I just loved him so fucking much. And I would do it about my mum sometimes, but she felt like a much more sort of constant in my life, you know? Like my dad had quite a lot of different like things wrong with him, like physically, like illness wise, so I was just hyper aware that he wasn't gonna fucking be there forever, and I loved him so fucking much, and I didn't know how I was supposed to put that across. And I think I got somewhat lucky with my dad, because I go back and forth on whether or not he might have been autistic. I really don't know for either of my parents. Like there's plenty of ways in which they could be and traits that hint at it, and there's then plenty of things that hint that they aren't, you know? Like I really don't know either way, and my dad's dead now, so I'm never going to. But I really appreciated the like good relationship moments that I had with my dad, which were like quite few and far between, but when they did happen, that was the times that I felt most understood as a child and teenager. You know, like my dad really gave me space sometimes to be able to sit there and be able to just be like I love you so much and I love doing this and I love doing this with you and I really enjoy this time. And I could just explain how I felt without having to show anything. And he understood that. He understood that I meant it, you know? Whereas if I tried to do that with my mum or certain other family members, they'd be like, well, you could fucking show it. You could do this and that. And I'd be like, oh shit, like, sorry. I thought feeling it was enough. Like, fuck. But it's one of those things where I also don't feel like I exclusively love people, because growing up, I had like items that I was heavily attached to. I had quite a large collection of China dolls and I sobbed when I had to get rid of them. We moved to a different country when I was 11 and I had to get rid of loads and loads and loads of my stuff. And I had various collections. Like I had my whole collection of China dolls. I had a whole collection of like itty bitty ceramic teddy bears in different like poses and different situations and stuff. I had a massive VHS collection because I still love movies and TV shows a lot. And I sobbed while getting rid of a bunch of my VHS tapes. And it was just because, like, I love those fucking movies and TV shows and the things that I had on VHS tape. I love them so much. Like, I can't put into words how deeply I adore that type of thing, you know? And then I had this, like, physical representation of the thing that I loved and this, like, more in-depth, like, I can see the pictures and I can read about it and, you know? And to have to get rid of that, it felt like I was losing a friend, you know? It felt like I was genuinely, like, it felt devastating, quite frankly. And especially the extreme love that I had for characters. Like, it's weird looking back on my childhood because I was really into, obviously I had Doctor Who and I still feel the exact same about Doctor Who, but I was also into, like, I adored the Titanic, like the movie The Titanic. I adored The Mummy. There were other bits and pieces that I definitely, like, I was quite into Labyrinth as well as a kid, but like the characters that were in them I loved, you know? Like at this point in my life I hadn't had any good friendships and I loved them as deeply as I love my friends now, you know? Like I so adore characters, and it's one of those things that I do have to hold myself back from to a degree because I will get so caught up in it that I will have the sudden realization of, like, they're not real, and it literally feels like someone I love's just died. Like, realizing and remembering that they're just a fictional character fucking hurts. Growing up I often felt like I had, like, all of this love to give and nowhere to put it out to, really, you know? Like I had certain moments with my dad, I had the odd moment with my mum. My brothers could not have cared less to have anything to do with me. I didn't really have any friends. Like I didn't have anywhere to put it into, and I definitely put it into like movies and TV shows and fictional characters. And then when I turned 16 I met the first person that I'd ever been romantically interested in me, and I felt like I'd been waiting for it my whole fucking life, to be honest with you. It's a bit sad to say, I'm a bit cringe and whatever else, but I'd been like, up until that point, I'd just been like, I can't wait to one day get to experience being in love and getting to give someone all of this fucking love that I have and getting it in return. So I got into this relation fairly quickly, and off the bat it was fucking awful because I was 16 and he was 21, so obviously he was grooming me. I was a child and he was a fully grown man. But I maintained this, because I was still a child, I maintained the very childish view of, like, I'm just going to keep loving him because I love him and love is the thing that is important. Love is the thing that matters. I'm just going to love him and love him and love him. And at some point, things are gonna get fucking better, I hope. 8 years in, they hadn't gotten better. And I do think that many of the issues that I had within that relationship, I mean, most of them stemmed from the fact that he was abusive and horrible, and then other things definitely stemmed from the fact that I'd seen my mum go through quite horrible things with my dad, and she was very like, that's my soulmate, you stay with the person that you choose, love is the important thing. So I was very dedicated in making my relationship work, and I was the only one that was dedicated to making the relationship work, you know? Anything that he did, anything that felt like it might not quite be right, felt like maybe I deserved a little bit better, maybe like that's not how you actually should treat a person because it's a horrible thing to do, anything like that, I felt like I could just overlook and forgive and get past because I loved him. And this specifically, there's an Alanis Morissette song that has the line, "You've never felt a love like mine before," and I honestly, like, I don't want to be like I'm the best lover in the world, but I do feel like it rings really true for me. So then I entered my second relationship, which was with a girl, with a woman, and that was a lot healthier because, you know, we're both adults for one, and for obvious reasons it felt very different because it was a completely different relationship and everything. But it was another situation where it felt like I was putting all this love in and trying so hard to, like, show that I love this person and make sure that my, like, standoffishness and my awkwardness and my anxiety didn't make it look like I don't care, or, like, you know, I wanted to make sure that my love came across. And that, I don't know I'm trying to phrase this carefully because it was the type of thing where, like, I don't think my ex was like a horrible person. She didn't abuse me. She wasn't like the biggest bitch in the world or anything, but she didn't like me all that much, quite frankly, I don't think. So to then have me like putting so much love into a relationship that she didn't care all that much about, and I don't feel like she really cared all that much about me, was probably quite a lot for her. And frankly, she should have fucking broken up with me months and months before I broke up with her. But you know, I was putting it all in and being like, I love you so much, this is so great, I feel so happy within this relationship, this is so much better than my last relationship, which, like, just about any relationship would have been better than my last relationship. But I think that, you know, from conversations that I had with her and things that I had to defend, I definitely had moments where it came across as though I was love bombing her, as if I had some sort of like nefarious little like, I'm gonna get in here and then do something. Like, we had a conversation, we were together for like right around a year and a half, maybe a little bit less, and we had a conversation like a year in where she was like, I thought you were love bombing me, like I thought that we were going to get so far in and like your behaviour was going to change, the way that you act was going to change, like you weren't going to be the person that you'd sort of presented yourself as. But that never happened because that's just how I fucking love someone, you know? Like I see a little like thing that costs £2 that makes me think of you, I'm gonna buy it for you. I'm doing some like weird little creative thing and there's this bit of paper left, so I'm gonna do like a little drawing, write you a little thing. Like, if you're in love with someone and in a relationship with someone, you show them that you love them. And apparently other people fucking don't, and that's really weird. But, you know, like, I have this big, massive amount of love inside that I want to give to people and that I want people to feel. And I do sort of feel like in some ways I've been shat on by having other people be abusive assholes and use, like, being nice as a tactic to get in, when it's like, that's just what I'm going to continue doing, that's just how I am, that's how I think a relationship should be. Like, I think relationships should be nice, I think that two people in a relationship should like each other. I don't know why that seems to be so fucking weird to so many people. So obviously that relationship also ended, and I am currently in like my first ever adult single era. I've been single for like about a year and a half now, I think, and I've been on like a couple of little dates for funsies during that time, but I wasn't really trying to like get into a relationship. And I can't tell you how much I've benefited from just having this phase of being single, and I think it's quite fucking obvious considering it's the first time I've been single in my adult life and the first time I've had that type of independence as an adult and everything, you know? But I feel like I've also massively benefited from it because I still have all this fucking love to give and all this, like, I want to do nice things for people, I like seeing people made happy, you know? Like, I think that there's a level of my personality that is an unhealthy people-pleasing thing from like my childhood, from trauma and from my past relationships. And I think some degree of it is that I like to fucking please people. If I find a person that I like and that I love and that I enjoy being around, I want to make their life like a little bit fucking nicer and brighter and do what I can to like care for them and shit, you know? And I do feel like that's been taken advantage of within relationships. You know, like my girlfriend was constantly letting me just like do stuff for her and buy stuff for her, and I didn't mind it, and I still don't necessarily like mind or resent it or anything, but it was like, you're not doing anything back. And I didn't expect it to like do something back, but there was nothing, you know? It didn't even feel like she particularly liked me a lot of the time. I constantly felt like I was like, do you want me to be here? Like, do you want me around? Because I genuinely can't tell. Like, once I've finished doing the thing for you, it seems like you just want me to leave. And she'd be like, oh no, of course I don't. But I think she did, honestly. She just enjoyed me having me there to do stuff for her. And that was very much the same in my first relationship. Like, I lived with him for 9 years, and like, we'd broken up for a year of that, and he was like, what do you mean you're not going to wash my clothes and cook my dinner? And I was like, we're not in a relationship anymore. And he was like, but you've always washed my clothes and cooked my dinner. Like, it was, you know, people just expect you to keep doing that shit for them. It's weird. But having this like little like single era, I feel like has been fantastic for me in a lot of ways. In every way. I don't feel like I've experienced anything negative from being single, honestly, because I've had the combination of learning to do those nice things for myself, you know? Whereas before I might have like gotten up and gone out early to get my girlfriend a coffee and a donut, I will do that for me now, and it's delightful. I really fucking like it. It's been a genuine like whole experience finding ways to like love myself and be nice to myself in that way and shit, you know? And I do feel like that plays into like self-care and everything in ways that I was probably neglecting myself in order to care for the person I was in a relationship with. But it's also been really, really fucking nice to be able to build much more intimate friendships and friendships that have a lot more love in them, you know? Like, I always felt like friendships were very secondary to my relationship. They were the thing that, like, you know, it's nice to have, but you don't need them. Whereas obviously not being in a relationship, it's a case of like, if I don't have friends, I'm not interacting with any fucker, that's that. But I was so used to friendships being just like a little thing on the side that you don't care too much for. It has been such like a completely like brain swing experience to build friendships where there is like, obviously not the same intimacy as a romantic relationship because it is platonic, but it's not weird for me to be like, oh, I was near your house today and I saw this thing that made me think of you, so I posted it through. There's a gift for you. Here's a picture that I drew that feels like it's a little representation of us. Like, just the same types of things that I was doing in relationships where the people were like, oh, thanks, I can do for my friends and have them actually genuinely appreciate it and do things back. Like, and that's the thing is, like, I talk about people doing things back quite a lot, and I've had the comments and like had the thoughts myself of like, you're not supposed to do nice things for people expecting to get them back. And it's like, no, you're not. And I'm not expecting to get something back. But at the same time, I'm not going to repeatedly put time and effort and love and keep doing things for people that don't do anything for me in return, you know? I don't expect the same types of things back. I don't expect the same level of energy. I'm aware that I'm putting in more energy than a lot of people would. But there should be a back and forth in relationships. You should both gain something from friendships. I don't feel like that's wrong, you know? But I also feel like that stems from having friendships where it was a case of like, I would help them move house, I would help them pack and unpack and resort all their shit, I'd help them get their shit to the charity shop, and then like 3 weeks later I'd be like, oh, I really need to take this bag of clothes to the charity shop, I'm having a hard time and no one can fucking help me with it, like, you know? I do think some degree is just like, well done Dana, you have healthy and kind friendships and friends for the first time in your life, and I'm like, yeah. So to take it back and round things off a little bit, it's always real fucking like shocking to me when people act as though autistic people can't experience love, because I feel like it's one of the main things that I experience as an autistic person, you know? Like, in regards to like the people that show me kindness, people that show me respect, in regards to my special interests and the things that I enjoy, I feel like, you know, like the predominant emotion that I do feel that isn't negative and isn't me being like insecure and feeling bad about myself is love. And obviously that's just my experience as one autistic person, and all autistic people are very, very different. But like, you know, I feel like it would be extremely easy to induct me into like just about any sort of fucking cult if you just tell me it's about like peace and love and light and kindness, you know? Like I really like, I hate being all like hippy dippy and like fucking like, I don't know, I'm not like a super spiritual person or anything, you know? I'm not like, the point of the universe is love, man. But like, I do feel like it's the nicest emotion that I fucking experience, and it's something that I would like to have directed and be able to like reciprocate with other people more often. And I think it's real odd that we live in a society that so predominantly encourages love within romantic relationships only, or within like romantic and familial relationships only, and I think that platonic friendships and things like that deserve a lot more love and attention. And that's all. That's the video. I'm going to stop now. I post videos here on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays if you would like to see more from me. Tuesdays and Thursdays tend to be content quite similar to this, around topics of like autism and how it is to be autistic. Sundays videos tend to just be whatever the fuck I feel like, because it's the end of the week and I'm just like, oh shit, I've got to make a video. But I think they're fun and I enjoy them, and I hope that other people enjoy them too. If you do, it'd be awesome if you wanted to subscribe and maybe leave a little like on a video or two. If you wanted to see even more content from me, I also have TikTok and Instagram. I post on both of those fairly regularly. I try to. If you want to support me financially so that I can survive in this world, you can do so over on Patreon or over on Ko-fi. I do post all of my content that I post here a little bit earlier over on Patreon, so you like get the early scoop or whatever. You can do that if you want to. There's no pressure. There's no other words that would be under pressure in a thesaurus. You don't have to. It's absolutely none of that. My brain absolutely leaks by the end of videos. I am sincerely sorry. Whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.